Morning, everyone. I know this is the only thing standing between you and lunch, so we'll try to make it productive and also not too slide heavy. I don't really like PowerPoint, but sometimes it's the only, oh no, not Skype, no, stop. Sometimes it's the only way to speak and provide information and context at the same time. So forgive me if I verge into PowerPoint, but I promise you the entire presentation is not a PowerPoint show. So, come here, you. Here we are. So, the risks and rewards of user-generated video is the title of our session. My name is David Boyle, and I work for Oracle Corporation. Perhaps you've heard of us, tiny little startup up the coast here, lean and mean and agile. So why am I hosting this panel? I'll get to introducing my fine colleagues here. You can see their names and titles, but I think I'll allow them to describe themselves and their roles in just a minute. But I wanted to give you an idea of, why me? What's the deal here? What's my interest? And I think that will give you some context. So I work in marketing at Oracle, and I was involved from the very beginning in as a key stakeholder in the visioning and purchase cycle for our internal employee-generated video platform, which we call OTube. And I've prepared a brief introductory video. Hopefully, let's see. You know what? I think I'm just going to not worry about Oracle. I'm not going to. Hello. I'm not going to worry about trying to get it up on the network, because then I think we're just going to get into difficulty. So I'll just go ahead and play this. Hi, it's David Boyle with Oracle. Welcome to Risks and Rewards of User-Generated Video. This panel is focused on applications within large enterprises, but could also be applicable to other small and mid-sized companies as well. As you can see, I'm not in my office today. I'm out here across from the hotel at Huntington Beach. And even though it's not a sunny day, it makes it more suitable for video recording. So I thought this would be a nice way to show the possibilities for user-generated video and to give you an example of an actual video playing here in our new OTube platform. So please prepare some questions, perhaps share some of your opinions and stories with us later in the panel. I'd love for this session to be interactive and to hear from you out in the audience because you are the users. So enjoy. So just a brief disclaimer, as I'm required to do, and perhaps some of my colleagues are as well, what we're going to say isn't necessarily what our management or shareholders or our managers or our employees think or feel about this topic. It's not intended as an endorsement or recommendation on any particular product, vendor, or service. And most important of all, we don't claim to have all the answers, because everybody's deployment is going to be different. Everybody's company culture is different. Everyone's infrastructure is different. But I think we all sort of share a common set of similarities in terms of what we want to accomplish. What are the business drivers behind this? And I know just by virtue of your being here, you have an interest in this topic. So that's kind of what I want to pull out of you is why you guys are here, what you want to learn, and we're willing to pivot and be agile based on where you are in your adoption cycle, because I think it's really important. So I'll get to that in just a moment, but what I would like to do now is briefly describe the platform that I have been involved with, and Jeff Williams from our global IT department, who was in a mobile device session yesterday on the panel, gave a great presentation. We've been working really hard on this for 2 years, and this is my 2 minutes to brag a little bit about what we've done, because I think it's very impressive. Not only from a technological standpoint and an infrastructure standpoint, but also in terms of driving this initiative through the various stakeholder and process layers that we had to get to, and all the various across all the various teams and their areas of responsibility. And I don't mean to be a big cheerleader, but it's not a non-trivial. That's a double negative. It is not a trivial exercise to deploy something like a user-generated video platform inside of a large enterprise. And these are some of the kinds of topics that we want to discuss today. So we know the business benefits. You guys probably have some risks and hesitations and roadblocks that you've encountered, and we'll get to those for sure. But to start off, these are the use cases that we determined would be have the most traction, as they say, when going through the process of defining what and how we would deploy this platform and its capability. And then, of course, you know, features and functionality, feeds and speeds. Everybody likes to see that. Jeff Williams, I compliment you on your PowerPoint skills. This is pretty clear. These are like the top, I guess, like the top 10 most important features and functionality, kind of table stakes for what we needed to do inside of an enterprise to make the platform not only usable, but also robust from an infrastructure standpoint and a security standpoint, and to make the content most discoverable and usable. So just a few adoption metrics. Our platform went into general availability in the summer, and here's a 3-month progression of views. So those are plays. That's click to play. That's how we define views. So you can see the hockey stick curve happening really clearly, and also in the viewers. So this would be uniques, unique user IDs that have watched a video. Is that right? Unique user IDs that have watched a video in the month. So from 2,500 up to 21,000 in 3 months. And then contributions as well. So we have 3 different types of users. We have a user, which you can define as a viewer, someone with rights to see all public content and that content which is that they have permission to view. Then there's the contributor user, that is employees who've been given the access and permission to upload their own video to the system. And then there's the admin users. So that contributions line represents videos contributed by user contributors in the 3 months. All right, so now it's time for the panel to tell you who they are, why they're here, and what they want you to know about themselves and how user-generated video is part of their jobs. First, we'll have Saurabh from Cisco.
Thank you, David. I thoroughly caffeinated myself to do this in 45 seconds.
Yes!
Okay. It's the only prepared part of my presentation today. Here we go. So, my name is Saurabh Katari, but you can just call me the guy from Cisco because I realize it's a difficult name. That's fine. There are 25 experts on my team, and our job basically is to do what we call B2B storytelling via video, webcasts, and online workshops. To give you an idea of scale, we do a new video offer every day and an online workshop every 2 hours. We are part of the core marketing team, so we work very closely with Cisco's social media team and our Cisco online communities. And lastly, like David, all of my opinions are my own, accumulated over my entire professional experience, of which the last 15 years is specifically in this field.
Great. Scott?
I have no disclaimer requirements, so I can say whatever these guys told me to say.
He's the loose cannon.
No. So I'm going to look at it from more of a marketing perspective. I've had 30 years in the business, working on everything from feature films to broadcast television to cable, and moved into marketing in the last 10 years, working mainly in the direct selling industry. So from our perspective, all of our users are employees, although they're not technically employees. We pushed live a system last year at the company that I was working at, where it was for a contest. We generated 100,000 user uploads in less than 3 months. We then took that content and utilized it in promotion, education, and every other possible aspect we could use it in. So we look at it more from a marketing standpoint. I think that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brent?
Thanks. My name is Brent Davis. I'm with General Mills, and I had the pleasure of implementing a large-scale video-on-demand project for our company. We have about a year and 2 months worth of user-generated content under our belt, and it's been a very valuable experience for us.
Good. Darlene?
And I'm Darlene Hoyer with Media Platform. I'm the Regional Vice President of Sales. And Media Platform is a full-service platform, cloud, hybrid cloud, and on-prem solution for the end-to-end video experience. We have tools for live webcasting and creating video on demand. We also have internal network distribution solutions that help distribute the video inside the firewall. We also have a fully integrated portal solution. This is a place, it's the kind of YouTube for the enterprise where you would publish that live and VOD into a portal that also integrates with SharePoint, Yammer, Jive. So I hope to tell you a little bit more about that and share some case studies with you.
Sweet. Thanks, Darlene. And Darlene has the advantage of having a view across multiple customers. So I think Dan Rayburn felt it was useful to have a vendor represented on the panel to have more of a sort of two steps back view across a range of customers. So what I'd like to do now, guys, is just go down the line one by one, and we'll spend a couple minutes with each of you to give your unique perspective on why should enterprises and businesses do employee-generated video? Why is it important? What are some of the business drivers? And why should we care? And we can start with whoever would like to jump in.
Well, I think you'll find out things that you never knew about your company, and you'll democratize we were talking about this yesterday, but you'll democratize your company. You'll open up conversations that would probably never open up and never give management the access to these conversations.
Yeah.
I can share something that we've discovered across most of our clients that have engaged with us to create a portal for them. And really it's based on the voice of the employees. When you really listen to the employees, you'll find that they want to share visually. They're kind of, for more and more growing millennial population, this is how they communicate at home. They take photographs on their cameras, they use their video camera, they share this content. So at work, they expect the same experience. So they'll be happier, they'll be more engaged. But you need to really seriously consider bringing those tools into the enterprise. And so that's what we've discovered. We want to allow them to have these visual communication tools.
I agree very much. Your business is going to be using video. They're going to be using YouTube if you don't provide them with a secure and robust enterprise portal. So it's really about risk mitigation up front by implementing a solution that you can control and that you have administration access to.
And the dinosaur in the room, because we've had the solution deployed for over a decade.
Wait, let me stop you there. You guys have been doing employee-generated video inside your company for how long?
Over 10 years.
10 years.
Yep. Over a number of different platforms. So
On VHS?
2-inch?
it didn't work. VHS did not scale.
Pneumatic? 3/4 inch?
No, we just went with H.264 and so
that.
we think how the world would take it. So from our perspective, the why is something we don't think about a lot. David's I'm the least qualified to answer that, because the reality is that what we're finding statistically is that the play button, this is one way to look at it, the play button on videos is the most successful call to action in the world. There's better conversion of people clicking play than doing anything else on the web. So it's just a natural human curiosity. What is behind that play button, as opposed to what's behind a click or an image? And so that is matched then, so that's how you get people started. Is video is just something people want to play. The problem is it's also equally addictive as a medium. Once you start doing video, it's very, very difficult to stop.
And why is that a problem?
So that as an issue is that if you do not manage this, if you do not manage employee-generated video, if you don't provide policy, governance, a platform, for lack of a better word, then it's like dealing with hundreds of people who want to get through the woods. You can either build a road so you know where they all are, or you can spend your time doing search and rescue, because they're going to get to the other side.
Yeah, and that opens up the door for kind of the risks portion of the conversation, which, believe me, we will cover. I want to focus a little bit more, dig a little deeper on kind of benefits, evidence of value, your phrase. What are some of the measurable benefits that you guys have seen post-implementation that maybe you didn't expect to see, or that you did expect to see?
Well, I think that the benefits are threefold, and it's obviously the corp comms. You can reach a broader audience on their terms. and also employee engagement. But I think the number one has been knowledge sharing. So having the ability to record your steps on video and share that with your peers for onboarding or for day-to-day tasks and training, that's been where I think the majority of the real value, the hard value, has come from.
Yeah, how-to videos like how do I change my oil in my car? I'm just going to go to YouTube and figure it out. Who needs a manual? Let me go back to what you said prior to that, which was, let's see, what was it that you just said prior to that?
Employee engagement.
Employee engagement. Tell me about employee engagement and what were you guys doing before you had video, and how does that method match up to video in terms of getting the message out?
Well, there really wasn't anything before the internal video on demand portal. It was YouTube, and it was uncontrolled, and it was the Wild West. So being able to bring that into our enterprise and deliver that as a service was, I think, really powerful for the employees. Being able to open it up and making an intentional choice to open it up to every employee and every contractor at the company, I think was the best thing that we decided to do initially.
Darlene, you had something on that?
Yeah, I mean, just, with the companies that we deal with, what generally you'll find is they'll have one regional area, usually the US market, that's the champion of this. And then slowly but surely other regions like EMEA or Asia Pac will jump on board. And that's important because you've got the head offices that are starting to do this collaboration using video, and the employees are starting to contribute content. But this really brings the global group together. They're able to collaborate and share knowledge in different countries with each other. And it's a very visual experience, and this bridges the language barrier. People can understand how to do something and how to work with each other. Video is so important, but globally to do that knowledge sharing.
Absolutely.
Haven't you guys, all of you who are actually doing it in the corporate setting, haven't you found that you found better ways to do things as a result of opening it up to the employees?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good aspect
Innovation.
of this conversation is, yeah, so how have you, if you have, found innovation benefits post-implementation?
That's segmented throughout the businesses, so I'm sure there's plenty of examples that, as an administrator, I'm not aware of every single bit, but it's been, over 3,000 individual bits of content have been uploaded in under a year, and with a reasonable sized enterprise, that's pretty impressive.
I could probably chime in. Our maximum number of internal video views in a single month surpasses 1 million. This is a couple of years ago. It took IT a lot of work to figure out why that happened, but we did, because that was an anomaly. But from an innovation perspective, what is employee-generated video doing? I have to step back because I look at so many different use cases. And the two things I definitely call out is democratization. Now you don't only have a top-down view on anything. You are forced to deal with an a grassroots upwards and a sideways. This might be an initiative for marketing, but sales has a perspective, and here's our video. Okay, we weren't expecting that. The second piece is, apart from democratization, is the humanity of it, right? Since the Gutenberg press, and then much more greater with the internet, content has got dehumanized. You read stuff, you look at stuff, but you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
This brings that back. Everybody has a face in the company, everybody has a personality, and what this is doing is mass scale collaboration. It's not just that the person is delivering a message and I'm watching it. I am now interested in who that person is, and I may go to them as an expert, which was actually what we were doing a lot more before we dehumanized our content.
Yeah, what I go back to when the Cisco use case comes up is John Chambers talking about transformation and how video, in his mind, would be key to that transformation. Is that borne out?
Yes, it truly has happened. It has created competition for information. You can't just be the expert at Cisco on anything because you have the most well-produced video. A ton of our internal video, the majority of our internal employee-generated video, has very low production value. But the ones that get 5,000, 10,000 views, even with low production values, are the ones that are competing because of the quality of the content. right? Somebody is actually standing up and saying, this is a different perspective, and the audience is deciding that this is a valuable perspective. They're competing. That is critical to innovation.
Well, the lack of produced quality makes it real.
Yeah, it makes it very authentic.
Yeah.
And it makes it something that you have to be ready from a rapid response perspective to happen at any time, from any geography, anywhere.
Yeah, so agility, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we've been working on. I've been working on projects that integrate produced content with user-generated to make them more
Exactly.
available. Kind of
Right.
make sure we get the message, but make it real with your, make the
Real
customers have the
people,
right
yeah.
to speak up. Yeah.
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 I think it's interesting you say that because there is kind of a correlation between quality and credibility that's been flipped, turned on its head with user-generated content. I think the news organizations see this now, that an individual producing a story on their phone could be more compelling than a polished magazine-style 3-minute, highly produced, flashy piece because of that immediacy, the authenticity.
Well,
Really
the,
interesting.
The Malaysia Air, I mean,
Yep.
not to make bad news, but the Malaysia Air crisis, crash, shoot down, whatever you want to call it, was a perfect example of that. How all that footage was from real people who ran up on the scene to try to help.
Yep.
Great. So I'm going to move in now.
Can I ask a question about
Yes, please.
the types of content that you get? Because in my company, QAD, we've been doing this for as long as you have, at least 10 years. And we've had a YouTube like portal since 2011. And we get a lot of, we get 30% of the employees out of 1,600 creating content. But a lot of that is not video as we think of it of the person. One of you said something about you get to know the people and their personalities. A lot of it is screencast.
Yep.
Called screencast. So I was just wondering if the panelists and anybody have an idea about the saturation rate of the percentage of employees, because 1 million views, 1,000 employees is completely relative, right? So in your companies, the percentage of employees that actually do these videos and upload them would be interesting. And then the sort of the split between videos, like you showed at the beach, and how to do something on the computer videos.
Yeah, or PowerPoint and audio. We see a lot of that.
PowerPoint and audio.
Yeah.
Just, sort of a quick survey.
Yeah, let's spend just a couple minutes on that.
And
Charlie?
I can give you kind of a snapshot. So first of all, the difference in types of content, I'll give you 2 examples, Facebook and Illumina. So Mark Zuckerberg does his Fridays with Mark. And so it's really homespun. It kind of sets the tone for, hey, you can do this too. He gets up in the cafeteria and he just speaks. And you can tune into the live webcast or watch it later, on the portal in his Mark channel. So, but because of that, it's given people the courage to give it a try and create some of their own content and contribute it, start their own channel, and they get followers. So again, in the same genre, it's kind of homespun, and that's okay because they know that he approves that style. Now, not to say that there isn't a lot of more highly produced content, and it's a nice blend. But certainly since that has been the norm for every Friday, there's more content contributors. It has grown quite a bit since the program's been in place. Illumina started off with an employee-generated content video contest, and they had about 100 contributors right off the bat because they advertised it on their intranet site. They had about 2,000 employees at the time, and in the first week, 15,000 views of that content that was contributed. And within 2 to 3 weeks, we saw a 30% to 40%, somewhere in there, growth rate of business content being contributed. So those would be people within the organization starting their own kind of mini content creation zones in the lab, sharing it worldwide with other labs in other countries.
One of the things you need to do, I believe, is when you're launching one of these channels, one of these portals, is you need to seed it with different kinds of content. Because what's going to happen is if you just put up one type of, let's say, how-to content, you're going to make the viewer think that that's mainly what you want. So you want to make sure that you have a variety of the different types of content, fun stuff and kind of opinion stuff and all that, just so that you can add to the variety and let people know from the start that it's okay to post that kind of content.
Yeah.
Over time, right, if we fast forward this out, and that's a great example to get from the audience as well. Note, we're not a media company, right? We're a B2B engineering company, a rather large one and global. For us, I think the dynamic of employee-generated video as a network has been more along the lines of Twitter and LinkedIn than Facebook. And the reason for that is that our work groups, the communities, and the audiences at work are not consensual, right? I don't get to choose who I work with. I get to choose what I say to them and what I post for them to watch. But in Facebook, everybody you're dealing with is consensual. In Twitter, people follow you. You don't choose for them to follow you. And LinkedIn, you make a connection, but it's a much lighter acceptance than it is on Facebook. So for us, we have seen over time it plateau out, where for no corporate reason, there was no mandate, but there are people that are established as publishers. And within teams, you find a person that does most of the publishing for the team, all by self-selection. And it plateaus out there, and those are the people that do it. As more people change jobs, more people join the company, people leave, people get in and out of that role, but we don't have an expectation that everybody at Cisco is posting video.
So would someone
What's
from...
the percentage of that platform of employees, approximately?
Publishers, I would say at Cisco is probably closer to 10 to 15%
Okay.
of our global population.
Do you find there's kind of it evolves into like a content leader from a specific department, and that person builds the audience?
Because if we take the word content out and put the word thought in,
Thought leader?
that's the dynamic
Oh, okay.
of our business environment, is that we have thought leaders. We have people who have 5 patents on this particular technology. I would rather listen to them. Just frankly, could I not get the polished video from the executive? Could I get the how-to video from that guy? Because I would really like to sell based on what that guy can tell me is meaningful.
Do those guys become content gurus also, where people go to them to, consult on how to post their own content?
It's a chicken and egg, Scott. They were gurus, which is why they are a source of content.
Yep.
You don't become a content guru to create content. You have to be a guru in order to create good content. This is just a way for them to be doing it much more scalably.
Right.
Much faster, much faster, their ability to get the
Much
information.
wider reach, yeah.
Much wider reach, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think to your point, not necessarily as a percentage of the employees that are contributing, but I think the goal is really to have everybody contribute, or as many people as possible contribute. And the way that we did that is to introduce the product initially with a launch and have a video that shows a little bit about what this product is intended for, how to use it, what not to use it for. We don't want your cat videos on there. So the point is planning and having some of the resources that people can go to directly into the product and say, and view how to upload, how to publish, how to do those basic tasks with it. Having that readily available, I think, is really important.
Yeah, that's great. That get it for you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I wanted to move to hear from you guys by a show of hands. So what I'd like to do is ask, does anyone have any concerns about deploying an employee-generated video platform inside of your company? Show of hands. Concerns? Worries, fears, roadblocks, obstacles? Yeah, absolutely. That's why the word risks was first in the title, not because of any sort of poetic rhythm, but because I think we want to try to be a resource for you to, based on where you are in the adoption cycle of this technology. So that's my next question. So from a show of hands, where are you guys on your roadmap with employee-generated video? And the responses are ideation phase, planning phase, in progress, deployed. So with a show of hands, ideation phase, talking about it, thinking about it, brainstorming about it. Okay, good. Planned, you've already planned it, you've got executive sponsors, and you're working towards it. Okay, good, 1. And then in progress, working on a deployment right now. Oh, good, we've got 2, excellent. And then deployed, either mature or emerging. Okay, that's great. I'm really glad we have I'm really glad we have a balance here and that all the perspectives are represented. So,
Could I ask a question, David?
yep.
The first question you asked, the raise of hands around people who had concerns, could we ask them to tell us what some of them are?
Yeah, that'd be good.
That's exactly my next question.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for, thank you
So
for.
disruptive.
Thank you, you are. That's Mr. Disruption.
Third child.
So, you know what I'd really love to do is just have you guys, if you're willing, just shout out what the roadblocks that you see are. What are the biggest obstacles or risks, perceived or actual?
Well, what kind of governance do you guys have in place for mass, non-compelling content?
Okay, governance.
I mean, I certainly would identify people in our enterprise that would produce a video a day
Yeah.
that would not really achieve anything, but they, feel like it does.
Yeah, okay, let's stay right here for a second. So governance is one. What are some others you guys have? Obstacles, risks, roadblocks?
Of inaccurate or damaging information, or factually incorrect information.
Okay, so information quality. I think we can broadly describe that as information quality.
Legally incorrect information.
Accuracy.
Legality.
Legality, I work for a government agency.
Okay, so let's jump right to legality. Anybody else?
The same thing, I'm a consultant, I'm consulting to a healthcare company, and the legal department is just putting up so many roadblocks.
They're the legal department, that's their
That's
job.
what they do.
Yep.
They want to be able to review every single video.
Of course they do.
I have a stat for that when we get to it. Yeah.
Okay,
You better
good.
hire a large staff.
All right, so legality. I heard one other, what did you say, inappropriate content?
Appropriate content.
Yeah, inappropriate content.
Mm-hmm.
So moderation, review approval, flagging, how to take stuff down, that kind of stuff. Any other obstacles, roadblocks, risks, challenges?
Yeah, just over-analysis of the pre-production and the content, or reach the viewers.
Paralysis by analysis, yep. That's one I haven't heard, but that's a good one. Especially in a branded marketing organization.
Yeah.
Okay, any others?
What about the cost of doing the governance?
Cost of governance? Cost, so kind of the cost of how to regulate.
Well, who's in charge, how much you pay that person or people to oversee that?
Yep, who owns it? Yeah, good.
Especially the amount of time it's going to take employees to produce that video. Got management so concerned with productivity.
Yep.
How are we going to see the benefits of allowing the person, whoever, and some amount of time to produce the content?
Right, we're not a media company. We're not going to have our people wasting time editing video all day.
I need to be doing transactions, not producing video.
Right, always be selling. Yeah. Anybody else?
Storage.
Storage, yeah, okay. Infrastructure question, infrastructure concern. Yeah, good. Very, very good. Good, nothing else? That's all?
Covers it pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too. So where do you guys want to start? What jumps out at you as something that you feel like you want to address?
Let's talk about governance,
Okay,
because
good.
these guys have had to deal with that really a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Brent, you go first. Yeah.
Well, governance, boy, I had a whole page written on governance. And I think that the key to that is planning early on to make sure that you have the executive sponsorship and the stakeholders identified that can provide you with the policies and all the requirements necessary. And also the executive sponsorship that has enough authority to understand and mitigate the concerns that come from legal department. Because your legal department will have a lot of concerns and they will want to control everything very tightly. I think it's important to delineate between employee-only content and publicly available content. So there's a lot of risks involved when you're talking about publicly available content that may not come into play if you're talking about just employee-generated. So keeping those systems and those platforms separate, I think, is critical in maintaining the democratization that empowers the user-generated content for employees and keep that public-facing content separate.
And in setting up the governance, you have to be careful to balance an environment where the employees feel comfortable posting stuff and the legal overlords feel comfortable enough that they're in control. See, I don't have to disclaim.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Rob, you spoke about this yesterday at length No voicemail, thank you. You spoke about this yesterday at length in our prep session, and I think you're kind of the disruptor. You're known as the disruptor inside your company. So, how does the disruptor feel about the topic of governance?
Well, we try not to take it personally, but governance. Again, this is a cycle, right? At the beginning, like everybody, and like Brent right now. Like everybody, we wanted to release a capability that we understood, for which we managed the risk, and there were consequences for people that didn't play within the lines. So people, instead of using the system that we offered, used another system and expected that no one would be able to govern it. And that's what's happening at your company right now, if you don't have a solution, is that it's happening without governance. So we then went through 2 or 3 cycles where we went through, this is how you use video. And we were somewhat fortunate that the executive sponsor is the CEO. So the CEO is expecting you to do video well, but over time what happened is the dynamic of our employee culture. Nobody at Cisco wants to get fired. I don't know if your companies, if people want to get fired, but nobody at Cisco wants to get fired. It's not a bad job, right? So if the motivation for people that are uploading the content is not to offend, or provide illegal information, or to provide piracy of content that's not copywritten, then you have to take the assumption, logically, that if they're doing it in error. They're not doing it with malintent. So if someone is providing content that is technically inaccurate or legally inaccurate, then you have an opportunity first to discover that. They may have been doing that for 5 years without you knowing.
And then,
now you know.
And the beauty of a democratized system is that your team, the folks that are in your company, will help recognize that.
Exactly.
It's like, you know, I may not have known for the last 5 years that I've been pitching that wrong.
Right, and so one of the things that we found critical with the video platform or with any internal content platform is feedback. All of our video is available with commenting ability. Right? So comments have been disabled on certain videos, which is an interesting phenomenon, but we won't get to that today. That's the next course, or the next session.
I always say, if you're going to do it, let people comment. It's an internal platform. What do you have to fear?
Exactly.
It's not YouTube. You won't get trolls.
And the truth is, the liability is shared. Everybody that is providing video and everybody that is watching all has the same goal. They all have the same goal, which is to get promoted, to make more money, and to move the company forward. So if somebody provides content that is inappropriate, that is just flat out wrong, somebody else calls them on it.
Quickly.
Yeah.
And then you as a company decide what you want to do.
So who's that somebody else? Is that a team of professional content evaluators who look at every single piece of video?
No, we stopped.
And so from the tech perspective, you know, I would say to look for a platform that has built-in tools for an approval workflow.
Yeah.
So first of all, the platform, all the employees have single sign-on. And then you can set up roles and permissions within you know, the attributes from your SAML system or LDAP Active Directory. And it tells the system, is this a manager? Is this a salesperson? Is this an executive? Furthermore, you can assign management to channels within the portal. So back to the workflow. An employee has their phone, they uploaded some content. It doesn't get published right away. It goes into kind of a waiting zone where the manager of the channel gets an email notification saying, hey, there's a new video that's awaiting your approval. So the manager who's assigned to that channel, it might be the head of HR, she might either look at the video or send it out for a transcript. Transcript comes back. She doesn't even necessarily have to watch the video, but if there's certain keywords or information that you know are taboo for either internal or external, you can analyze it, do a search for those keywords, and that video goes back to the creator with a message saying, I'm sorry, your content wasn't approved. All of this can happen in a rather automated form. So to the question of, you know, how long does this take and is it cumbersome? You know, how many people do I need to manage it? It's really not that bad because you can divide up the responsibility across managers of channels. New content comes in, they take a look at it or look at the transcript, and then they approve it. And then it gets published. Now, to the point of comments, a system should have the ability to notify managers of the channel or those who subscribe to comments to see all the comments that start lining up on that piece of content. And if you have the permission inside the portal to do so, you can take down a comment.
Yep.
So that's how I
But-
approach the management of this.
I think you have to be careful to over-managize it. The over-managification of content destroys the trust from the users producing it. And that's like this careful kind of line you have to walk. And what's interesting is if you put up, I mean, I'll give you one example that we had. And again, I was on the marketing side, so it's a little bit different. But we were dealing with content coming in real fast. We couldn't afford to have 1,000 production assistants watching it. Someone posted a video accidentally from their phone from their workplace, which was basically they were a child care worker and a kid was telling them about a situation that was questionably legal. She accidentally posted that instead of her weight loss video. Literally within a minute of the time it hit the system, we had users flagging it. We had people calling our 800 line, calling in about it. The video was down within 5 minutes, and that was on a weekend. So I think the community is going to go out of their way to protect this platform that they have.
Just like every medium, right? One of the great benefits of employee-generated content platforms is everything's identified. There's a person that posted it. And at least at Cisco, we do things very personally. If somebody posted something and I don't feel like I want to comment, I just write them an email. And if I don't like them, I write an email to their manager. Seriously, that's what you do. It's the same thing you do if the person did something inappropriate in the cafeteria.
Yep.
Why is this different?
Yep. The difference is,
I think
yes.
that's a very good point. So from our experience in 10 years, this is such an overblown problem.
Right.
Legal,
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. And I think Scott's point about the balance is critical. You will not get adoption of your system if
Yes.
you have all this, legal.
Overhead, yep.
So
Yep.
Channels you have to go through to publish your message. What you'll get is just sanitized content. It won't be exciting, and you won't get what you really want. So,
And what is it that you really
Just-
want? Let's just ask a devil's
Yeah.
advocate question. What is it you really want?
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, do you want adoption or do you want a platform that nobody uses because the content isn't relevant or authentic?
And just to give you an idea, in where I ran this platform, of the 100,000 plus videos, 30 were something that we had to take down over the course of 3 months. I mean, that's and we're
great-
dealing with
great
regular
metric.
humans, customers who are pissed off. We're not dealing with employees who are worried about their job. We're dealing, with, it's open to anybody. You can fill out the form and enter their video. So it's 30 out of 100,000 plus.
Yep,
I
great.
agree completely, and from an employee-generated perspective only, the fears were completely unfounded. All of the incorrect information, all of the inappropriate information just never materialized. There wasn't the need for moderation. We decided early on not to have moderation and to allow everybody to upload and to publish to public spaces, and that was the best decision that we made.
Yeah, that's a really important point. So I hope everybody heard that, was that General Mills decided that the community was the best governance body to regulate content on the platform.
Exactly.
I'll add Cisco to that.
And to
We're
support
right
it.
there with them.
Great.
You asked how many videos were pulled down, didn't you?
Yeah.
And no one knew.
No one could remember.
No one
the
could remember the
time
last
that
time
it-
they
Hadn't
pulled
had
out
an
a video.
escalation since the person being on the job.
And that's in how many years?
4.
Yeah.
4
So-
years, the person responsible for pulling content down or tracking it couldn't remember the last time it happened.
Did you have to wake him up because it's been so long?
No, I have to clarify the question.
Let's
Yeah,
move on to
that's
some.
what's crazy is the guy didn't even understand the question when he went and asked it.
Right, why would anybody
Why
do
would-
that?
yeah.
Because everybody is identified. On YouTube, you can comment, and you can be,
And-
go to the garage, or whatever you want to be. You can post videos as, 1, 2, 3, George.
Sure.
And that's exactly why you shouldn't use YouTube for this for this purpose.
Could you say that again?
You should not use YouTube for this. First of all, it becomes management hell. Just to find your employee videos, you have all this other crap that's suggested next to it. You have no control of who someone is. Just go to a platform. I mean, your platform. I have the most experience with Kaltura. There's a great program, a great platform from another company that I'm not supposed to mention. They have a platform that's been around for 10 years. So there are a lot of great platforms out there that are scalably priced. that you just have to find the best match for your organization. I think that's a fair way of saying it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Well, let me move on to some of the other concerns here because I think we could talk all day about governance. So the next one we had, I think governance, legal, inappropriate content were all kind of bundled into that one. So brand. Saurabh, you talked a little bit about this yesterday. You were very vocal about kind of the tension between user-generated content and official marketing content. Is that something you're willing to dive into here for about 2 minutes?
Very carefully. The statistic I was going to share is that at most of your companies, at least 80% of the people working in legal and brand are human beings. Okay? At least
Legal?
80% of them. Yes.
Okay.
So therefore, right, they have expectations like all other human beings that their expertise will be respected and that your expertise is what they want from you. That's why we all go to work, right? So from that perspective, we actually have an interesting situation where we have content that is being consumed massively internally by our sales team that is extremely successful, but brand would like to tweak. The content is very effective, but they'd like to tweak the appropriateness of it. We may have taken the humor, for example, too far. And we're in that discussion. They did not say take all the content down. Because in our case, 12,000 salespeople would have a big question. Why? I've watched this 3 times and I love it. So we're in conversation about how to change the content to maybe meet a little bit more in the middle. And that's what human beings do, compromise.
But you're not totally changing them. It's
They're going to suggest a format
and then
and then we're going to make it funny.
yeah.
I think it's a mistake.
Because they're dealing with the audience. They're dealing with, you know.
That's what we
you
do
gotta
with storytellers.
You got to consider your audience. I mean, the brand guys aren't necessarily the guys who deal with the audience and are watching the metrics and driving viewership.
Right.
That's right. Whose story? So if we're all storytellers, that's really what we're trying to do here is tell stories.
Right.
What storyteller is more credible? Someone who's been to the cave and killed the demons,
Right.
or somebody that is telling the story for a broad audience and trying to appeal to the widest possible constituency and stay within brand guidelines at the same time?
Right. Exactly.
Okay, let's see. So we'll move on to time to produce. So in terms of the level of effort, and this is something, Darlene, that I'd really like to have your contribution on, talking about level of effort to produce and contribute content. What is the relationship between ease of use, user experience, and adoption? And is that a significant concern that people are going to spend, that you hear in your meetings, that people are going to spend too much time with the platform, therefore we don't want them to?
It's a great topic because, you know, part of adoption really across the general population of your employees, not the gurus, but just your kind of average person who might not be very tech savvy, you want to have easy ways to create. Now, almost everyone in their home life will you know, grab their smartphone, take a photograph of a group of people, or shoot a quick video. So those people are, the majority of every one of us can do that. Let's make it that easy in the workplace while you're sitting in a sales meeting and your manager's up speaking. You just want to capture that because you know you need to remember it, and he wrote something on the whiteboard and it's just something really cool. You want to be able to pull out your phone, boom, take the picture or take the video and you know, save it and then post it somewhere where you could share it with your team. It has to be that simple. So single sign-on's important. Being able to have a kind of a easy, transparent tool that allows you to just say, upload? Sure, upload, and it goes to the cloud.
So would you say to have
yeah.
both a web-based and an app-based?
No. Well, ours is not app on the phone based. It's just browser based. So, but either way, you know, it would be just important to be able to have that kind of transparency, the ease of use, especially with all the phones. You know, it has to, mobile is it's key.
Yep, it's key. And,
Yep.
and I think how you get through that objection is demonstrated.
Yeah.
The individuals that have concern about how difficult it is and how much time it's going to take, have them try it out. Have them make a video on their webcam at their desk, see how long it takes. In fact, Jeff may remember my relating this anecdote about Mark Sunday, our CIO. In the first meeting where I heard him talk about this initiative, this idea, the vision he had for an enterprise video content platform, sharing platform, he said, here's what I want. This is what I struggle with. Mark Sunday, a CIO. I want to be able to make a video, trim the heads and tails, enter the necessary metadata, and upload it in exactly the same amount of time, or no more time than it took me to shoot the video. That was his metric. That was his success metric. If I can do that, then it's a win. Because then that means I'm not on 4 conference calls because we have a global team. That means I don't have to restate the content and miss rephrasing it every time. And that means that the content is persistent, so people can come back. If they missed the call, they can come back and review what I said. So he's a huge advocate of that kind of philosophy of ease of use.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
do you guys who have pushed out these platforms successfully, do you find that question disappears over time? The how much time it's going to
Productivity?
take? Yeah.
I think if your company is already has their employees working at 100% productivity and they're accounting for that time, this may be difficult to include creating videos into their work. But we're probably not there, and the time that it takes to make a video or to upload it is insignificant when you're considering the time that you're spending on a break or surfing the internet or doing something that's not directly related to your job.
Sure.
And the value is employee engagement. You're doing something for your company. It has some value to somebody, especially when you're talking about knowledge and training videos. It doesn't take long to do a screen capture, and hundreds of people can benefit from learning how to do that task or tips and tricks on collaboration tools in your environment.
Yep. Again, we could spend all day on this topic, and I wanted to say another thing, which was, you know what? Actually, let's move on, because I think we only have 10 minutes or 7 minutes, and you guys want to get to lunch, and we won't keep you over time. So let's move on to the infrastructure aspect, and so we have a few minutes to dedicate to that, because it is a significant business problem to overcome in terms of where are you going to host the content, who's going to own the infrastructure, what about the impact on the network, what about authentication, what about metadata, storage, and on and on and on and on. So who's got the juice to answer this one? Or start the discussion, I should
Well,
say.
I mean, just briefly from us, the question is, what happens? What is the risk if our program is successful and everyone wants to upload video? We have a lot of video on demand on our hands, and how are we going to distribute it inside our network securely? Is that going to break down all of our sites, and do we have enough bandwidth? So, I mean, we hear that every day, and so you can answer that with adaptive bitrate streaming, which we do, also in ECDN. There's a lot of ways to approach it, and so that's one thing you need to look at. If you are successful, think of it now before you start. I would not make it be a hindrance to starting the program, because big companies like Accenture and General Motors and Ericsson, they're all doing it, and they didn't have bandwidth at certain sites, and it can be done. So, that's one thing, and storage is very inexpensive now in the cloud, so don't worry about that either. But we can talk further.
And the simplest advice I would provide here is plan to revisit everything you planned in 6 months. And then plan to revisit it again after the next 6 months. And then after that, plan to revisit it annually, if at all. You're really worried about what is going to happen 3 years out, and you don't even have a day's worth of data. Just agree that you and your vendor are going to sit down again with IT in 6 months.
And renegotiate your deal.
And renegotiate.
All right, those were the concerns you guys expressed. Were there others that came up for you that you feel like we could cover and maybe at least hint at in the last 5 minutes? If not, I think I'll move on to what does success look like? So, from each of your experiences, how have you been able to explain and essentially convince your management that they made the right decision? Or do you not need to convince them? What does success look like?
Yeah, for us, it's been viewed as a dramatic success, and it doesn't require us to have metrics or measures behind that, but everybody uses the platform. Everybody has seen something displayed on demand that is valuable to them. So it's really organic.
So let me just restate that because I think that's a super important point. I mean, we spend a lot of time during the implementation phase in terms of getting input from stakeholders on what kind of metrics you need, what kind of dashboards you need, and on about, you know, but what you just said was kind of shocking to me. Like, you don't even need to, you've gotten to the point where execs don't need to see metrics on it because they know that it's a success.
They've seen videos that make sense to them, that are valuable to them, and everybody has that same experience.
Yeah, and an ROI calculation is impossible if you don't know how the platform is being utilized. You can only be forward-looking, and yes, you're looking at me like you say, I want to disrupt this. What?
Wow, I have quite a reputation, David.
That's all right.
So,
you earned it on your own, you know.
So 10 years out, what success looks like is invisibility. It is extremely unsexy. It is utility status. I was actually talking to one of the sales guys about stories he could give me with customers for the platform that we have that use it. And again, I had to clarify the question. Like, what do you mean? It's like, when you sell this, he's like, I don't just sell this, I sell an enterprise collaboration solution, and they've got to have a video platform. What are you asking me? It's at that point, it's a utility. It's something that is so invisible that people use so much every day that having it or not is not a question. That is what success for us looks like, where there's really no limitation to the growth or diversity or functionality that we currently have, is that it is actually invisible.
From a marketing standpoint, the countless number of golden nuggets that have been generated from this content is really amazing. I mean, everybody's been blown away by it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm excited in the next few phases of our platform is, how can we surface internal content from just the types of gurus and experts that have internal credibility to our customers outside, to say, you know, yeah, you may have heard the sales pitch on engineered systems, but here's somebody that knows firsthand, right? Or you may know the value of upgrading to the next iteration of Oracle database, but here's somebody who can tell you from their perspective why it's important, and that carries with it credibility, right?
Here's the tweet version of that. The success of this platform will actually not be determined by the success of the platform, but by the people who use it being more successful than those who don't. And that's a fact.
And I think that's a great place to end. So if you guys have follow-ups that you'd like to conduct with any of these exceptional members of our community, please feel free to rush them all at once and throw your business cards at them. If not, feel free to reach me. It's david.boyle@oracle.com. And you can also find me on Twitter at dboyle, D-B-O-Y-L-L. I look forward to connecting with you. Thanks for attending.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.